Friday, June 28th, and it's 2:01 p.m. But I started the stream at 2 o'clock on the nose. So we're getting better, see? A little bit every day. We're going to talk about anxiety today. The kind of anxiety you get when you realize just how fucking horrifying this next election is going to be. I don't know what kind of anxieties you guys have out there, but I'll tell you one of mine. Standing next to the candle display at a TJ Maxx. All my Maxinistas out there, or a Century 21, one of those stores, the home goods section. You pick up a candle and you're like, this thing weighs 4-5 pounds. Then you look over at the glass shelves. There must be 6,000 pounds of candles sitting on 1/8 of an inch thick panes of glass. That freaks me out. I grab my candles and go. I bounce. I'm out of there. Don't hover near the candle display at a TJ Maxx. Just don't. Because one day, that's going to explode. Shoot glass everywhere. And you're going to be standing there and you're going to have candles all over you. You're going to be bleeding out. It's going to be horrifying. Don't do it. Don't be a statistic. Let's see if I can switch over. Can I do it? Hey! Oh, it's so much smoother. And you can hear me, I hope. Let's see. Can you hear me? All right. I think I fixed the audio problem for Wednesday. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with me. If you, hey, Prickly G. How's the weather in Canada? Audio is good. Great. All right. That's good to hear. It was a stupid mistake. I had a little audio input thing on Wednesday, and I didn't copy it over to the right scene. Anyway, it's fixed. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Operation Night Shift Metamorphosis is still underway. We're figuring out what kind of content works. We're figuring out new ways to produce content, make it interesting, make it relevant, keep it topical, keep it focused, but also expand the scope of the discussion a little bit. And these live shows are my way of, at least for the next month or two, testing out this new format. So as we go on and I do more of these, I'll get better and we'll work on it together. But I've been getting some really nice feedback from you guys. Thank you so much for the the really warm and supportive comments. Keep them coming because they're great. I can totally use that reinforcement right now. Sometimes I'm doing this and I'm from my vantage, I'm just sitting at a desk staring into a camera. So I'm just going, do I sound ridiculous right now? But you've assured me that I don't, and that if I keep doing these, you'll keep watching them. So as long as that is the feedback I'm getting, we'll keep going. Anybody watch the debate last night? How many people bailed on the debate last night? I bailed 10 minutes in. It was over for me. Anybody? Oh, Timbo, you left Patrick for me? Oh my God. We do need to organize our times. Listen, hey, I had Patrick on night shift and then he blew up and now he's too big for me. I can't get him back. He was supposed to invite me on Vetted. So if you guys can put a little pressure on Pat, maybe I'll go on Vetted. I would love to. But he's got an open chair anytime he wants to come back over to night shift. I would love to have Patrick back. He was a lot of fun. He's so cool. And killing it. Really doing a great job. Okay, I'm getting an alert from YouTube here that says you may experience some delays. But Anyway, yeah, if you want to bounce back and forth, that's fine. Go back over and check out what Patrick's doing. We're still in first gear over here. Today, we're going to talk about a couple of things that I think are interesting. Obviously, the debate is the first one. That's the elephant in the room. It was a dumpster fire. It was so bad. It was so bad. A con man and an old man arguing, and one of them didn't even know what room he was in, and the other one is just completely full of shit and insane. And that's the kind of anxiety that gives me, that anxiety of standing next to the candle display at the home goods store where it's about to explode any second and shoot glass all through your body, and then you're just going to bleed out in the middle of the home goods aisle while they uh, walk around you and uh, I don't know, shop for pillows. That's the anxiety I felt throughout the entire debate last night, at least the 15 minutes of it that I watched. It was just so bad. Biden looks so frail. He looks lost. He looks confused. His voice was just barely above a whisper. Uh, it was just hard to, it was hard. I felt bad for him to even be there. And it really crystallized for me a lot of the stuff that I've been reading, the coded language from Democrats. I don't want to turn this into a political stream. I really, we'll get into the politics of this channel in just a second. And trust me, it's not what you think. But a lot of the coded language that's been coming out of the Democrats over the last couple of months has been about how just the rough shape that Biden is in, and how it's like, no, we're all ship shape. Everything's good. We're hanging in there. He's our guy. And last night when he was on stage next to Trump, it was just obvious. It was beyond obvious. Like today, the headlines were, "We're fucked." That was like the first headline on CNN that I saw was just somebody quoted, "We're fucked." And from what I saw of Trump, what I could tell, he showed up. He had more energy than Biden. He looked like he was a little bit more alert. And I unfortunately think that the level of our discourse is so low right now that that's enough. That's probably all it takes. Do you have a pulse at this point? Do you have a pulse? Okay. This is a real problem because not only are both of these two individuals completely unqualified to do what the job that they're doing for various reasons. I think Biden's problem is obvious. It's over for Biden. Like, this is over for him. But this generation has to let go of power. They have got to let go. These people are so fucking old. It is a problem. It's a real problem because the decisions that need to be made, this generation has no fucking idea what is coming. They have no clue how big the changes are going to be that are coming. They're already here. They're just, the first little waves of it are just starting to hit us now. We're not even in the thick of it yet, but in the next 5, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy. We're going to go, I have a clip of Richard Dolan, who totally blew my mind because he said yesterday some stuff that I was saying on Wednesday, and it's like, he read my mind, Richard, but it was really good. And I just don't know how much longer we're going to have to try to survive while these people, it's like Mr. Magoo, and or you can have Jack Nicholson from Mars Attacks. Those are your choices. If this is the quality of leadership that we have in this country, then this truly is a dying empire. Like we're absolutely at the end of our useful lifespan in this country. And that is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I really don't. It's just the level of decision making and look around. Look who's in charge. Joe Biden, maybe Donald Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping. Look at these people. Is this who we want in charge of the nuclear arsenals and all of the AI? Like, is this who we really want to be running things? What is called for now, the level of technology that is about to happen on this planet is going to be so powerful that I don't know if we're going to survive the next 50 years. Certainly not with the leadership that we have. Like, they just do not understand the scale and scope of problems that we're looking at. And can you, anyone out there, tell me, who would you rather have if we have contact, if open contact happens? Who do you want in the Oval Office when that happens? Would you feel more comfortable if it was somebody like Joe Biden, or would you feel more comfortable with somebody like Trump? Can you think of anybody that you would actually put in that position that you think could represent humankind in an adequate way? I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah, Christian Morales, I felt like I was America hit rock bottom. Yeah, America hit rock bottom last night. That's for sure. I can honestly say the political system currently in the UK pretty much mirrors what you're saying. The president is not in charge of all the AI. And why are we talking politics? Let's move on. Okay, hold up. Politics is the conversation. This is important because it concerns all of us. And this whole like don't get political on your channel thing, you can just take that shit and hit the door. I'm not interested in debating like what kinds of things I talk about here. So like that doesn't float with me. Politics affects all of us. This is the level of power that corporations and the billionaire class wields right now is unacceptably high. Unacceptably high. And there is no way to rein that in without getting better control over our political system. We have to. It's not a matter of would it be nice or do I want the person that I like on my team in charge? It's a matter of survival of the human species at this point. It's been that for a long time. Like every day that you wake up in this world, if you live anywhere near a major city, a military base, you live under the threat of constant, total, instant nuclear annihilation. It's you live under an umbrella of nuclear weapons that could wipe out all life on this planet. Not just once, but dozens and dozens, hundreds of times over. It could turn this whole planet into a glass ball, into a fucking marble. And the people in charge of those things are making decisions on your behalf. And some of the people that no one voted for, that are just there, and we don't know, that some of the deep state bureaucracy that's just been in place for 75, 80, however long years, these people are actually making deals. And apparently, as far if they're to be believed, if the stories are to be believed, these people are making deals with non-human intelligences. They're signing treaties. There's some kind of backdoor diplomacy going on between the people in charge and this non-human intelligence that are going to show up here at some point. Artificial intelligence is set by policy, national policy. What's possible from one sphere to another that's a matter of governmental policy that's put in place. And if you don't think that governments can rein in corporations that are controlling the AI, think again, because it can happen and it may need to happen. Like, we've gotten into this position as citizens of this planet of just expecting that corporations are going to continue to amass power and that the government's just going to continue to suck, and that's just the natural order of things. We all need to be okay with it. We don't. This is all made up. This whole fucking system is made up, and we can rethink it. We can stop the machine if we want to. We could change things. And in fact, I would go a step further and say that at some point, when automation and AI get to an adequate level, you're going to see so many jobs get automated away that capitalism is going to eat its own tail. It's going to be incompatible with its end state. And we're going to find ourselves in a post-capitalism world, whether we like it or not. It's not a question of what you want or what I want. It's just that's where the technology is taking us. Anybody can see this. So this whole like attitude of like, well, don't get political. This isn't about red team or blue team. This is about like life or death. This is grow up or perish, evolve or die. That's where we're at. So the way we do that, this whole world, our entire civilization is like an orchestra that is grossly out of tune. And we have got to get in sync on some kind of a frequency with regard to what we want, the kind of world you actually want to live in. And we have to start holding people accountable. But politics is the reason why climate change is not getting solved right now. Politics is the reason why that problem got dragged out 60 years longer than it ever needed to be. Politics is the reason why the Schumer Amendment didn't get passed when it should have. Politics is at the center of this conversation, whether we like it or not. Now, I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I don't like any of these people, like any of these people. I mean, if you want to know, I'm a Bernie Sanders guy. Like that's me. But I don't really care because I think at the end of the day, it's the system that's obsolete. It doesn't matter who you put in charge of it. The systems that we have in place right now are not compatible with the world that's coming. The world that you're going to live to see, I'm going to live to see. My children are going to grow up in this world, like your kids are going to grow up in this world. This is coming. So the climate change, sea level rise, fucked up weather that we're going to be facing is baked into the equation. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse for the rest of the time that we're all alive. It's only going to get worse. And your kids and their kids and their kids, unless we somehow, through some miracle, create some kind of unthinkable technology that just doesn't exist today. And we're able to reverse 100 years of fossil fuel exploitation. So if that can happen, great. I would love to see it. And maybe AI gets us there. And maybe there's some ways that we can get there. But right now, sitting here, looking at the situation on a burning planet, it's pretty fucked. It's pretty bad. And our options right now are like ecological catastrophe or nuclear holocaust. Those are your two choices. And those are the most likely outcomes. And it's sad. The ecological catastrophe stuff, that all of the data we have points to that outcome. The Department of Defense is making plans for that outcome. The Department of the Navy, they're moving their bases around the world. They're having to change the location of these bases because where they're located is so close to sea level, it's not going to be compatible with a rising sea level. So decisions are being made all the time, and they are taking into account the things that we have to be thinking about. And I just personally don't think Donald Trump or Joe Biden or, frankly, any of these people are equipped to think about the problems that we have at the level that we need to be thinking about them. That's our job. That's what we need to be doing. That's what this show is about. It's about stoking that conversation and getting you guys involved and getting you to ask the question, what kind of world do you want to live in? I'll tell you what kind of world I want to live in. I want a world where everybody can go to a doctor for free forever. I don't think that's a big ask. I want a world where everyone gets a complete education. I want a world where we don't have to work unless we want to work. And guess what? There's enough money and there are enough resources out there for us to have that world. We just have to reallocate some of it from the places where it's accumulated. And I'm looking at the billionaire class. Like there are places where we've allowed this system to just accumulate power, and that's not acceptable anymore. So the question is, what degree of civilization you want to see 50, 100 years from now? And how do we start getting there now? How do we think about that? So sorry if I got a little heated, but yeah. Let me check your comments and see where we're at here. I can honestly say the political system currently, these are the exact conversations I've been having with people, Avi. It's amazing how many are walking around asleep. Starslinger, I didn't watch the debate. I have better things to do, like play Elden Ring. No, that's fair. I'm embarrassed to even say I'm American at this point. Our government is a joke. I think a lot of us feel that way. Alminius, I agree that politics are important. Stuck between two sucky choices, then Biden is a better choice. I'm painting a stop and be friendly sign now. Carl Nell. Yeah. Again, and we'll drop this and move on because I don't want this to be a red team blue team thing. I'm not interested in that. Like that conversation ends nowhere. That is meant to be an endless hamster wheel that red team blue team people run on forever. We cannot get caught up in that trap. You have got to let that go. Just understand that when you turn on the news, most of the talking heads you see probably work for the CIA or report to them in one form or another anyway. Like 99% of what you're seeing out there is propaganda, and you can't believe it. Look at what they just did to Julian Assange. And he's finally being out, but under after an ordeal. So it's nuts. On a more fun note, the new night shift mugs are here. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So we're going to bounce out of that with something a little more refreshing. This is Night Shift, the 12 ounce. Now check it out. Here's the 15 ounce. You can go big. I'm trying two different locations for the logo. On this one, it's on the front if you're holding the mug. The reason for that, well, I'm trying the two different kinds, is because when I hold it, if I'm drinking it, I wanted to see which way it shows on camera better. So I've got this one. That's the 15. And then I've got the 12. This came in just this morning. And there you go. The print came out really nice. The color looks really good. Some of the small type, the website down here at the bottom doesn't really come out all that well, but the rest of it looks really good. So I'm pretty happy with these mugs. The shirts haven't come through yet. So as soon as I get those, that's the next thing I have to check. And then we'll open up the store. I'm going to open the store up for members for a couple of days. And then I'll open it up to everybody after that. So hopefully by Monday, maybe Tuesday, I'll have an answer on that. But the mugs are great. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you like the mug on the side, or are you a front, or the logo? I'm sorry, or do you like it on the front? And what size do you prefer? 12 ounces or 15? Yeah, I've heard some good things about Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy. I like his attitude towards the military industrial complex. He seems like the type of person who would take the UAP conversation seriously. He certainly has a history of animosity with intelligence agencies in this country, so that's a plus. Um, Hang on, I'm looking at your comments. I like the logo on the side. Okay. So 15 ounce mug for Alminius is down for a 15 ounce with the logo on the side. Okay, I may have to adjust that. Like that's quick. That's a quick fix. Side logo better. Okay, it looks like side logo. Okay. All right, side logo it is. You guys just voted on it. That's what we're gonna do. All right, so that's happening. We went past some channel updates, new members. I have to give a shout out to my members. Proud Vermin, welcome aboard. Heather Willow, Joseph Christopher, Ding Ding 81, Susita NM, A Huff, Christian Dane, Shadow Patriot Terry, TG Bar, T Love, Alminius, Dr. R Fuzz, paging Dr. R Fuzz, Miss K, BB, Zendra Zero, Charlie Fisher, producer Brandon Thistles, Last Stand, Teresa Bailey, Dueling Grox, and last but definitely not least, Brett Higgins. Guys, thanks for being members. And Anthony Haley and Stephanie Erickson. I'm so sorry. Not last. There were more. I had to keep scrolling. Thank you so much for being members. You're the heart of Team Night Shift, and it really does help. It's so nice to know that like people are like excited about this and want to keep getting involved. So that's good. We got up to 5,350 subscribers. We're still a completely undervalued YouTube channel. I promise you. You're getting in on the ground floor right now. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that button, subscribe, join Team Night Shift, become a Night Shift Ninja. Be one of us. I'm trying to recruit you into my ninja team so that we can solve UFOs forever. And I think we're going to crack the code. I think we're going to be the ones to do it. So let's get that up to 10,000. I think we can do 10,000. We went from 7 months ago, it was 400. Now it's 5,350. We need to get it to 10,000 and then we'll do something crazy. I don't know. Give me some ideas. We'll make it fun. So that's news. And I want to show you some clips. We're going to talk about some clips. This week, let me see if I can switch over. All right, can you still hear me? You should still be able to hear me. Oh, Srawat, am I saying that right? Watched your reaction to Dan Burrish. Quite viral. Great job. Shout outs from India. Yeah, that video just hit 12,000 views today. 12,000. Unbelievable. Um, 10,000 soon. Love the live streams. Thank you. Yeah, the Dan Burrish video is still going strong. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. It's Dan Burrish and S4 and a being called J Rod. Dan Burrish was a biologist who led a working group of other biologists at supposedly at S4, where he worked on this being called J Rod. And in this video, he gives this testimony and he tells about going to the facility, what it was like to work there, the type of equipment they used, the type of people that he worked with, the way that it worked, all the procedures, what the being was like, what it was like communicating with the being, what the being told him. J Rod, it's a fascinating story. I just did part 2 of that came out, and it was a illustrated look into S4 with Michael Schratt. It's actually a presentation that Michael Schratt did at the International UFO Congress in 2011. And I just did a react video to that. All of these, by the way, all of these react videos, I get it. Like some of these videos, it's annoying. You don't want to see me chime in every 30 seconds. I totally get it. If you do, that's great. I think it's fun to watch it and react and get your reactions too. This is like Mystery Science Theater 3000 to me. I like to sit there and just eat popcorn and watch this stuff. And when I'm reacting, I'm just doing it in my honest gut reaction in the moment. But I get it. It's not for everybody. And so sometimes you want to just watch the video without me. I always link to the original video in the show notes. I've gotten a few people in the comments who have said, is there any way we can watch it without the comments? Yes, you can always go to the show notes and you'll see the original link. It'll take you right there and you can watch it. Reason I say that is because I'm working on a React video for Lance Corporal Weigand, the Marine who saw the crash recovery in Peru. He was one of the first Marines on the scene to secure the site. And then the Department of Energy comes in with their ninja team, and they arrested him and the rest of his squad and interrogated him. And it was a crazy story. But he did this fantastic interview, and it's as good as the Burrish interview, I think. It's right up there. Maybe not as good in terms of detail, but in terms of authenticity. So I'm doing one on that. And then I've got a part 3 for Dan Burrish coming out soon. And the Dan Burrish saga continues. It looks like there may be some more Dan Burrish stuff coming out as I can. But that rabbit hole keeps going. And apparently there's a lot more to discuss there. So I'm going to keep on that. Bomb of an episode. Watched it twice. Nice. So today I want to show you a clip from Kurt Jimungel's Jimungel's. I hope I'm saying Kurt Jimungel's Theories of Everything channel on YouTube is one of my favorite channels. Today I'm going to show you a clip from the most recent episode he did, which went up I think yesterday. It was an interview with Richard Dolan. If you don't follow Richard Dolan's work, Richard Dolan is a UFO researcher who is also a historian, and he also teaches some of the courses that are being offered through Ubiquity University and via the New Paradigm Institute. So if you want to take some courses in the history of ufology, I believe Richard is still teaching that course. Danny Sheehan is teaching some of the other courses. So there are a number that you can take. But Dolan has a great depth and breadth of historical knowledge about the phenomenon and how it fits into our society over a longer period of time. I think for a lot of people who came into this conversation after 2017, we're sort of in this new phase of the discussion, but this is a discussion that has gone on for decades and decades, and it's evolved over time. And so Richard has a great perspective on how that has changed and what it may mean for us. And in this clip, I'm just going to set it up really quick. It's about a 10-minute clip. So we're going to go through 10 minutes and then we're going to talk about it because I think it ties into something else interesting that you're going to like. He's talking about how his suspicion is that Kurt asked him, what do you think is going on? And Richard is saying, I think that the civilization, that we are being observed. And the civilizations that are observing us were able to predict we would be right about here at this moment in our history because of the developmental pathway that we've followed. And so it's not it shouldn't be as a surprise to anyone that we're seeing this huge increase in activity right now. It was predictable that this would happen, and it's building up to something, more or less, is what he's saying. So I'll let Richard say it. He says it better than I can. Let me see if I can cue this up here.
In this UFO.
Okay. Should be right away.
We're in no position to even begin to understand where these other beings were coming from. Obviously, there'd be nothing that they could really give us except let us develop the way we have developed. This is what I think. And so we've been subject to a kind of a low-level monitoring process probably for a long time, until the last couple of centuries when it's clearly bumped up. And I can say this because I've studied the history of UFO sightings probably about as well as anyone that I know. So I've studied all the ancient sightings, and I have read thousands and thousands and thousands of UFO sightings through the 20th, through the 19th and 20th and 21st centuries. So now part of it is that we have a much better ability to record them, and that has absolutely helped to amplify the quantity of reports. But the fact is, I am convinced that if we'd had anywhere near the density of sightings that we're having today, 200, 300 years ago, we would have known. I think people would have noticed. And yet no one was really talking about it. Those are smart people. 300 years ago, they were highly intelligent. There was no mystery of people talking about what are these objects in the sky.
So there is, in fact, something different about the last 200 years?
Yes, absolutely. Something very dramatically different in terms of the quantity and quality of sightings. There is no question. The quality, the specificity, and the detail. Like, I don't know of a single archaic ancient sighting that clearly and unequivocally describes a metallic mechanical craft that I would say confidently is technological. It's possible, but you don't really get those descriptions. There's a few that could potentially go that way, so I don't rule it out. But in terms of quantity, you start getting a lot of them starting in the 19th century, and then, of course, really picking up in the 20th century, and especially with the Second World War. It just goes through the roof with the Second World War. And that makes perfect sense logically. You put yourself in the position of these other beings. They're watching us. It's only a matter of a few generations where we were, for thousands of years, we'd been a society of horses pulling wooden carts. And then suddenly we get electricity, we get airplanes, we get radios, we get televisions, we get guided missiles. We then develop computers. We're now splitting the atom by the 1940s. Like, that's fast. That's super fast. Because the people who were involved in splitting the atom in the 1940s, their grandparents were living in covered wagons. Okay, so it's really fast.
So it's the development of nuclear bombs?
Well,
or like what is it specifically?
That's part of it. It's also the development of radar. It's the development of computing technology. Alan Turing's just as much a part of this as Robert Oppenheimer. It's computers. I think people in the 50s were too overwhelmed with the nuclear reality to realize there's other technological reasons also that these ETs would be watching us, not just nuke.
What specifically about these technologies is it? So in the nuclear case, it could be said that it would destroy the world. So is it always about self-destruction?
No. Yes and no. The nuclear part of it is important because we do have the ability to destroy every single bit of life on this planet with a nuclear holocaust. That's a terrifying reality, and that has to be of interest. But no, just more generally, the technological transformation that we have gone through during the 20th century, and that continues, all was totally predictable, in my opinion. They knew this. They knew this long before we knew this, that this was going to happen, that we were going to transform into a highly technological society once we discovered a few principles. And that's what happened in the 20th century. Now, we may have gotten a boost. Maybe, as some have argued, the transistor, which was patented in 1947, came as a result of prior acquired tech. Is it possible? I don't rule it out. I'm not talking about Roswell, but maybe Cape Girardeau from 1941. Maybe, but be that as it may, our trajectory was totally predictable. And so what that means is that they knew we were about to jump into their world anytime. Once we developed a certain, because this is not a normal incremental progression. This is a leap. This is a new paradigm. We're not just incremental.
Okay. Pay close attention to what he says next, because this is about to get really interesting. And this is where I really see eye to eye on Richard Dolan and with Richard Dolan. And I think many of you will too. Listen to what he says next.
Mentally progressing here. Take a few steps back and compare our world to that of, the Wild West of the 1880s. It's not even remotely similar. It's only a few generations. So we're in a fundamentally different reality in which we're now looking at transhumanism, genetic manipulation, CRISPR tech, nanotech, strong AI, quantum computing. I mean, the sophistication of our data management, digital data management, is, we take this for granted, but it's off the charts. So all of that has made qualitative changes in human society that I believe were totally predictable by an intelligent extraterrestrial civilization that's gone through the process. So what I'm saying is, we are under intense observation right now for this reason. And now let's get into what else is going on. Would any visiting intelligence, and I believe that there are probably multiple ones, by the way, as part of what I believe, would they be interested in monitoring or guiding, as they might look at it, or we might look at it, managing or controlling our transition process? Because this is what it is. It's a transition. We're basically going from natural human to artificial human. And that, by the way, terrifies me personally. But who cares what I think? Doesn't matter what I think. It's happening. We're creating. We've already been creating an artificial environment for many, many, many generations. We live in artificial homes and houses. We don't live under the skies. We live we like to control our environment. So we've had some practice at this, but we're now going to a point where we're going into virtual reality, augmented reality. Like, what is even going to be real? We don't, a society of total digital surveillance and monitoring and control, essentially a totalitarian system in which there's not going to be any privacy forever. How is that going to change human psychology? Probably quite dramatically. We're going through just a fundamental transformation that, again, I would also say was probably predictable.
Listen to this.
I hate to say that because it makes it sound inevitable, but that's what I think. And so they know this. And do they have an interest in managing that process? I'm sure some of them would. So I do believe that there's been a kind of, here's where we go off into the deep end, but I'm just going to say this. Has there been the possibility of an infiltration by some of them into our world? I think the answer is yes. Has to be considered as possible. You'd be a fool to pretend that it's impossible. And so then what you look for is, what evidence could be used to support this? And the only evidence that I could use to support it is the research of various UFO researchers who have collected their own stories of interaction with human-looking non-humans. There's a lot of those. I've encountered a few of them myself from people. They're quite compelling.
If you enjoy.
Okay. Are you getting this? Are you getting this? You'd be a fool to rule it out that there has been some kind of infiltration by human-looking non-humans. It's not coming from just anybody. It's coming from Richard Dolan. Richard knows more about the history of this topic than most people, and he knows most of the smartest people that are in this field, like personally. If he's saying that, wow. What do you guys think? Is it possible? There's certainly been a lot of discussion about it over the years that there are, was it Robert Dean? Who's the guy who's got white hair, a beard? He has a ponytail, at least in the interviews that I've seen. He worked for NATO in the 1960s. He talks about reading a report, a classified report that was available to someone, to him for whatever it was that he was doing. He worked at what was it called? One of the command structures over there that he was involved in. And he says that the thing that the Pentagon was most concerned about was that there were strong reasons to believe that there were aliens that looked just like us. And they would look exactly like us. And you couldn't tell if you were sitting next to one in a movie theater. What's interesting about that, aside from the obvious, is that that's picked up and echoed in a number of different ways throughout the next few decades. And Ingo Swann, the remote viewer, in his book Penetration, talks about an encounter he has. Now, this is a guy who's a powerful psychic. He's a psychic in the sense that he can remote view distant things and see details about them and then report them back. It's been verified. He did it at Stanford Research Institute under Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ. This was under controlled laboratory, double-blind conditions. These were documented experiments that were run for years and years and years. So this guy is the legitimate real deal. And he said in his book that he encountered people who he was told by intelligence folks that they were not human, even though they looked very human. They actually had powerful telepathic abilities and they were dangerous. They were super, super dangerous. That's what he was told. That story is so weird. It's so strange. And it feels like it really does feel like we're in a movie sometimes. The fact that we can even have these conversations is crazy to me. It's one of the reasons I love doing this, is because it's just so much fun to talk about this stuff. It's impossible to know how true these accounts are, but man, is it exciting to speculate. Those who can change perception can change reality. I heard that's a great point, Miss K. I heard an interesting, so I forget who this guy was, but it was somebody in a clip that I saw a while ago. And he was saying his hypothesis was the Mandela effect is because they're trying to change things. Like now that so much of our history has been digitized, they were like, well, what if he's thinking like, what if we went in and we just changed some stuff? Would people notice? And then when we do notice, they created this idea of the Mandela effect to make it seem like, oh, it's just this weird phenomenon, but it's actually them going in and changing things. Totally walking among us, Christian Morales. Yeah, that's the guy, Robert, that had a cosmic clearance or Q clearance. Robert Dean, engaging the phenomenon. James Landoli did a good 36-minute compilation on this topic. It's good stuff. Yeah. Dolan knows Carl Nell too, so you know he's getting good information. If I were to control the world, I would make them view the world through Plato's allegory, Cave for Prisoners. It's like the Men in Black and My Lab experiences where they look human but are not. Yeah, there's a lot of that, right? Like that's unsettling. And it makes you wonder, then are some of these people public figures that we would know? You know, I know the joke is like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg could be an alien, but surely if there are human looking non-humans, they're out there and you probably encountered one or two in your lifetime. I mean, or at least seen one on TV, right? Like how many could there be? And I think that was the big concern. In fact, actually, you know what? This just reminds me of the other half of this that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to come back to the telepathy thing in a second. I have something else on that. But so Richard Dolan was saying that he believes we're under surveillance, right? And let me see, where is this? Here we go. There's an Irish astronomer named Eamon Ansbro. Eamon is interesting because he wrote a paper back in 2001. He presented it to a SETI conference in California, and he was basically saying that he believed back then that we were under surveillance. Based on his research, he was able to basically put together a pattern of sightings and track UAPs. And he was able to say that we can predict when and where a UAP is likely to appear based on the tracking that we've done of these objects. And it looks to be something like a observation search grid that they run around the planet on different days at different times. Objects are seen in the same areas, kind of passing through almost like a surveillance flight. And that's been going on for a long time. And so this was first presented back in 2021, and then it was recently brought back up again because he was interviewed. And there's a great interview on Tim Ventura's channel, Eamon Ansbro, UAP Orbital Surveillance and Superluminal Communications. So he goes the extra step further, and he says that if these things are observing us, it was probably an automated system that was put in place in the past to monitor our civilization. And then when we reached a certain point, it would it'd be communicating back to home base, and it would alert them that we had reached that point. And that's when something might change. And he describes that type of communication as some kind of a quantum entangled, like a, I don't know, I read it like a quantum telegraph system, like an entangled system where whatever you say on one end comes out the other end and is just duplicated across vast distances. And he basically proposes that idea. So if you really want to dig into Eamon Ansbro, you can go to if you just Google his name, a ton of articles will come up. EAMONN Ansbro. And if you go on Tim Ventura's excellent YouTube channel and watch his in-depth hour-long interview, it's awesome. Or his discussion, it's really, really good. And then Eamon presents his
of the all sky camera system picked up
his evidence. So I don't have time to get into this today, but go to Tim's channel, subscribe to his channel is outstanding. It's really, really, really good. He does just fantastic deep dive interviews, and he knows all the right questions to ask. So I really, I couldn't recommend it more. So that's the Eamon Ansbro thing. So we have Richard Dolan, and we have Eamon Ansbro and a number of other people suggesting that we're under some kind of surveillance, that this is an automated system that's running all the time, and that there was an article or an interview recently with an engineer from NASA who was saying that they see interference at every single launch all the time. There was a clip that surfaced this last, well, it's been out forever, but it showed up again. Let me see if I can find it for you. Let's do. Bear with me, gang, while I find this. It was of the Concorde. Have you guys seen this clip? The Concorde jet with a sphere, what looks like a bet sphere flying around it. Let me see if I can find it for you. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Just had it. I'll dig it up another time. But there's a clip of the Concorde with a sphere flying around it, and they're showing that little, it looks like a little bet sphere. You've seen the bet sphere? It looks like a big bowling ball, big stainless steel bowling ball. So they're showing the Concorde, and it's one of those. We've seen those around SpaceX launches. We've seen those around shuttle launches. In fact, there's a great video that I am just now dipping my toes into. The MH370 clip Let's see if I
From
can
the
get this
moment
to
Malaysia
go. Okay, that's not it. Here we go. MH370, the Malaysia Airlines flight that disappeared in, what was it, 2014? 8 March 2014, flying from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing International Airport in China. And so this craft just disappeared. And there was a clip. Yeah, it's not up on. Here's Web Archive. Okay, so the flight disappears on 8 March 2014, right? And then on, this is the Wayback Machine, webarchive.org, web.archive.org. Satellite video, airliner, and UFOs. This was published on 19 May 2014. Received on 12 March 2014. And you can see this plane flying, and there's the sphere. There are 3 spheres circling around it. There they go. 1, 2, 3. Watch it. And it's gone. Supposedly, these things teleported that entire aircraft and all the people on it someplace else. And there is, let's see, where's my better clip? Well, there's a clip from CNN that I found. Check this out. This is a 2-minute and 43-second clip. Listen to what they say about this.
Flight 370 took off. It was
Here we go.
communicating with the satellite orbiting more than 22,000 miles above Earth, sending out pings or electronic handshakes to say, I'm here and okay.
The ping is really like your cell phone checking that it's connected with the cell phone network.
The first 3 recorded pings come between 12:30 and 1 a.m. local time as the plane takes off from Kuala Lumpur and ascends. All normal stuff.
The first 3 pings are messages which are carrying the data about the performance of the engines on the plane.
At 1:19 a.m., the co-pilot sends his final message to air traffic control. All right, good night. Then the transponder, which identifies the plane to civilian radar, stops communicating. Between 1:21 and 1:28 a.m., radar shows the plane makes a sharp left turn, then dips as low as 12,000 feet. At 2:22 a.m., as the plane appears to be making another turn, the satellite then picks up 3 more electronic pings, one right after the other, in the span of just a few minutes.
All right,
It
listen
looks
to
like
this
they were
next part.
initiated by the plane because the plane had lost contact with the satellite network. After that quick turn, maybe the plane banked sharply.
Whatever happens is seemingly resolved, as Malaysia 370 sends hourly pings or handshakes at 3:40, 4:40, 5:40, 6:40, and 8:11 a.m.
The hourly pings are really just the network checking that everything's going on. That sort of indicates that the plane is flying smoothly.
But then something very unusual happens. A partial ping, just 8 minutes later, recorded at 8:19 a.m., the last electronic signal before the plane disappears.
The plane wasn't able to communicate back again, and so the handshaking wasn't completed. The plane must have turned sharply or stalled or dived, something to cause the terminal on top of the plane to be pointed away from the satellite and then to try and re-establish contact.
So the ping, it was half a ping. Half a ping. The plane disappears. Now, oh, I got to go back. Let's go back. I love that slide. So then where is it? Screen grab this so I can show it to you in a little. larger window. Yeah. Here we go. Now we're going somewhere with this. I know that I'm jumping all over. We were on Richard Dolan, and then we were on Eamon Ansbro. We were talking about the Concorde. Now we're looking at this. Just hang with me. We're going somewhere with this. So this one gives you a better angle. You can see. There's somebody that I'm going to try to get on the show that's been working on this case for some time, a journalist who's been doing a lot of digging into this and has some really compelling findings. And I'm hoping to get that person over here for an interview soon. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I can shed some more light on it. There you go. Watch it. Here we go again. Half a satellite ping. Blonk. And it's gone. Okay. Last time. We're going to play it through one more time. Watch this. Gone. Okay. Now, you saw how that disappeared, right? Watch this. Clip of the week is the new thing I'm going to start doing. Clip of the week. Just during the week, I see a lot of different clips. I'm going to pick one, and on Fridays, we're going to look at it. It's the clip of the week. This week's crazy clip is a clip that I saw, I think it was on UFOB on Reddit, but it's a 1995 video of what appears to be a UAP teleporting, just like what you just saw in the MH370 clip. Watch this, and let's see if we can make some sense of it.
Over the last several years, a Miami resident named Adrienne had what is now considered one of the best documented contact cases in history.
Now you're going to watch this craft. Pay attention to it. By the way, that's James Doohan. That's Scotty from Star Trek doing the voiceover. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that. But watch this ship. Watch it carefully when it disappears.
At first, the sightings began occurring at some distance from his home, but it wasn't long before the craft began appearing over his backyard. This amazing video footage shows a glowing disc approximately 9 feet in diameter hovering just feet from his house. In a blink of an eye, the craft disappears. Once the footage is slowed down, we can clearly see the craft dematerialized frame by frame. Over the last several years...
So what do you think about that? That looks like the same kind of flash and teleport that we saw in the MH370 clip, and it looks very similar to a number of other videos that I've seen that are kind of like this, where they just show these things disappearing. What I think is going on, just what I see here, it looks like a plasma around the craft that's glowing, like some kind of superheated plasma just surrounding the craft. And then when it disappears, there's like a shockwave that goes out in every direction. And in the MH370 drone footage that showed up later, it looked like there was a shockwave that comes out as well. Here it goes. What do you think, gang? Is it real? There's a great... oh, Christopher, welcome aboard. You're a member. Thank you. Welcome. Hey. What happens if I click that? Oh, okay. I'm figuring out what I can do with this chat here. All right. Welcome aboard, Night Shift Ninja. There used to be a show called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, hosted by Jonathan Frakes. I don't know if anybody here watched it. I watched every episode, and it was awesome. And it was just Jonathan Frakes, like rolling up on a bicycle and being like, "Have you ridden a bike lately?" and or he'd be fixing a sink and he'd be like, "Have call a plumber recently?" And it always started with a question. And then at the end of the show, they'd present like 3 or 4 reenactments of crazy things, and then you'd have to pick whether or not it was fact or fiction, and then they would reveal if it was real or if it was made up. And I don't know. Do you think this is fact or fiction? The Miami UFO, did it disappear for real? No one can smuggle satellite video, not unless it's meant to escape. NGO is the only one of the top most closed agencies. Anything that leaves there is meant to be exposed. Yeah, yeah. Look like higher intrusion into our 3D reality. Good point. And if you haven't seen those clips of the gigantic pyramid craft over the, there's one over the Pentagon and there's one over the Kremlin. You guys seen those videos? I don't have them queued up here. I'd show you, but they are awesome. It looks like a gigantic pyramid the size of a aircraft carrier floating above the Pentagon. And like multiple different people see it from the highway and record it. And then in Russia, there is a similar sighting of a gigantic craft floating above the Kremlin, and a bunch of different people get footage of it. And it's crazy. I haven't watched Manifest. No. It said since 10 years ago that it's still a concern for national security. Well, you know, the question really boils down to, are they a threat or are they not a threat? Was that us? Let's say that that's real. Let's say MH370 was really teleported. Okay. Let's just operate off of that assumption. If that really happened, then who did it? Was it us or was it them? And if it's them, where did those people go? And what was done to them? Were they returned? Were they disappeared forever? Were they, are they still alive somewhere? You know, what happened? And why would you take a airliner out of the air and just teleport it? And if it's not real, if that's fake, who faked it? Why would you fake that? And what would be the point? I mean, maybe, I guess I could see like if you were just a sick, twisted person, you wanted to mess with people, but these are people with families. Um, it's possible. You know, this is the thing. We really don't know. And it's just as of now, going forward, we can't really trust what we see anymore because so much of it is AI generated and the AI generated stuff is so good, it's hard to tell. So I think it's like going forward, it's kind of a moot point. So that brings up an interesting question. What do you think is the new standard of evidence, right? We can't trust our eyes. We can't trust pictures or video anymore. That stuff can be super manipulated and outright faked with AI, and it's totally convincing. And if it's not yet, it will be. I mean, just give it a few more years. So what is the new standard of evidence for you guys? What do you need to see to make you feel like something's real? Does it need to be somebody like Carl Nell coming out on stage and talking about it openly? Would it matter if the president came out and said something? You know, if it was Biden or Trump, would it even make a difference to you? Like, what would have to happen for this to get real enough that you're satisfied that we have now like had this conversation and this is the new reality? Oh, were the pyramids debunked by a CGI studio? Wow. Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. The MH370 thing is something that when it happened, I was in an ultra low bandwidth place and I just didn't have enough bandwidth to take that one on at the time. I had too many other things going on. And so I completely failed to look into it. And it seemed really interesting at the time, but it just kind of happened. And then the news cycle had moved on. So I missed out on a lot of what followed. And I'm just now catching up on it. Somebody reached out to me a few days ago and sent me a really compelling video. And they said, look, this is what I've been working on lately. And I watched it and I was like, wow, this is very impressive. But I have no idea. I don't know what's going on with MH370. Reappears when it lands 15 years into the future. Well, that was the premise of Close Encounters. It's the first scene in Close Encounters, right? They're out in the desert and they find those World War II planes with, they still have all their fuel and they're sitting in the desert. And then at the end of the movie, they see the pilots come out of the ship. I'm telling you that whatever we're dealing with is going to be a lot weirder than we think it is. And when the dust settles and the smoke clears, I think it's going to be weirder than even your weirdest imaginings about what it could be. And I think that's probably at least a piece of why there's so much secrecy around it. Maybe the idea is like, once you really understand how weird it is, it's just really hard to take on board. And some people won't be able to. Obviously, night shift people, you'll be able to. But a lot of people won't. Okay, guys, it's 3:00. I've got to bounce. I'm going to wrap it up there. What do you think? Let me know what you think of the Richard Dolan clip. Let me know what you think of MH370. Let me know what you think of Eamon Ansbro's surveillance theory. Are we under surveillance? Is that what's going on? What are they waiting for? Are they waiting for us to achieve a certain level of technology before they make open contact? And what kind of technology would it take? Is it warp drive? Is it AI? Is it advanced superintelligence? Something artificial superintelligence? Something like that? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll let you know about the store next week. I'll have an update. And I've got a new video that's going to drop tomorrow on the alien abduction syndrome and some research that's being done into alien abductions that is new and fresh and is taking a different perspective, different vantage point on all this. I sat down with Daniel Rekshan, who is a researcher who's been working on this for some time. He's written 4 books, I believe, on the topic. He has a really fascinating new hypothesis on what is going on. It has a lot to do with dreams, but not in the way that you might think. He's not suggesting that abductions are dreams. He's saying that the dream realm is somehow central to our contact experiences with these beings. And he proposes some ideas as to how that could be and what the importance of the dream realm is in all of this. I think it's really exciting. We had one interview that we did about a month ago that was fascinating, and it was just enough to confuse the hell out of me and a bunch of other people. So we brought Daniel back and sat down and we went through it again, and he just really got into some granular detail about his work, and it's fascinating. So I'm hoping to have that up by tomorrow. Take a look. Get over to teamnightshift.com. If you haven't already, go to our website, teamnightshift.com. Scroll down to the very bottom on the first page. There's an email thing. You can put in your email address. And when you put that in, you'll be on the mailing list for updates as things happen. Don't worry, I'm not going to blow you up every single day. This is going to be once, maybe every 2 weeks, or maybe once a month, as I have things to let you know about. And I'll send out the store link to everyone there. So if you're waiting to pick up a t-shirt or get some merch, you'll be able to find out when that's all live. So go down to the website, check it out. And if you have an idea for a show, or you know somebody who would be a good guest on the show, or you yourself think you might be a good guest on the show, I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for people to talk to. I'm looking for people with interesting stories. So there's a link on the website that's called, it says Make Contact. You can click that and it'll take you to an email page, and those emails go straight to me. So if there's something that you want to talk about, or if you want to share something for the show, or you just have some ideas, go there, send me an email. I will, I read all of them. Sometimes it takes me a day or 2 or 3 to get back to everybody, but stick with me. I will respond. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thanks, gang. I'm going to wrap it there. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next week. And yeah, that's it. Keep looking up, everybody.